Welcome to our lesson for today. Remember, we continue with our topic that is scale drawing. After doing scale drawing part 1 or section 1, we want now to move further and also dig deeper on this topic that is scale drawing. So scale drawing is a very simple topic and it is very easy when it comes to exam. So when it comes to exam, there are some techniques that you must have. So you must be having some knowledge, some background knowledge on the topic for you to tackle this topic better. Now, on the scale drawing part 2, we are going to concentrate more on the area. Remember, scale drawing part 1, we are doing more of finding the scale used. So we are dealing more of the length. So in this section, we are going to always refer to area, or most of the questions that we're going to do is questions involving area. And remember, you know all the units of measuring area. So according to your level, units of measuring area, the biggest or the largest units of measuring area is hectares. So 1 hectare is equal to 10,000 meters squared, or 10,000 square meters, and 1 hectare is the same as 100 acres, and 1 hour is the same as 100 meter squared. So in other words, what you're saying is that hectares, then followed by acres, then meter squared, they are the units, common units of measuring area according to our level. So the first thing you're supposed to understand is that hectares is the largest, followed by acres, and then meter squared, and every step is 100. So from hectares to acres is 100. From acres to meter squared also is 100 meters squared. But if you're moving 2 steps, that is from hectares to meter squared, it is 10,000. So just have that one in mind. It will help you when they're asking you to find area in different units. So back to our first example, remember, this video is just requiring you to write all these formulas and also the examples. You must write the examples that I'm going to give you so that at the end of this lesson, you have all the basic knowledge as far as scale drawing is concerned. So let's start with our first example. The plot below is drawn to a scale 1 centimeter represents 10,000 centimeters. Remember, in the previous lesson, we said that scale can be written as a ratio or in statement form. So this scale that you see here has been written as a ratio. But then as a statement, it just means that 1 centimeter represents, or it is equal to 10,000 centimeters on the ground. So 1 centimeters on the map represent 10,000 centimeters on the ground. So that is the meaning of that scale. So it means that if 1 centimeters represents 10,000 centimeters, what about 9 centimeters? And what about 4 centimeters? So without wasting time, I want to give you a shortcut. Anytime you see a question like this, just remember that this is your length and this is your width. And this length and the width that they're given you, this one is not the actual length, and this one is not also the actual width. So the first thing that you should do, so anytime you find a question like this, always multiply to get the actual value. So multiply the length and the width by the scale. So the best way to do this is start with your length. Multiply your length. So if 1 centimeters is equals to 10,000 centimeters, what about 9? 9 times 10,000, you will get 90,000 centimeters. But for you to be safe, always change your dimensions to be in meters. Why? Because the units of measuring area that I've given you in the previous slide, it means that when you have your area in meters squared or in square meters, it will always be easy for you to change it into the required units. You can easily change it into meters squared. You can change meters squared into RS or into hectares respectively, very easy. You can change meters squared to becomes RS by dividing by 100. You can also change meters squared to hectares very easily by dividing by 10,000. But if you leave your measurement in centimeters now, it will be very hard for you to change it into required units. So step number 1. So I want to start again. When you have a question like this, multiply both your length and your width with the scale given, and then divide your answer by 100, changing your dimensions into meters. So this is how you're going to start. So anytime you see this question in the exam, just take your scale, you multiply your length, like the scale given, then you divide it by 100, then you write your length in form of meters. So if you look at our step that are given here, multiply both sides by 10,000, then divide by 100 to change the dimensions into meters. For example, if you have your length here, multiply by 10,000, then you divide by 100. Now, your length is in meters. Your length in meters is 900 meters. 9 times 10,000 over 100. So if you cancel these 2 zeros here and 2 zeros here, 9 times 100 is 100. So your length here is 900 meters. Very, very, very easy. So the moment you have your length, do the same with your width. So it is 4 times 10,000 over 100, and you will get your width is 400 meters. So the moment you have both your length and your width in meters, you are good to go. Remember when in class 6, if I give you a rectangular plot whose length is 900 meters and width is 400 meters, then I'm asking you to find its area. Area of a rectangle is length times width. So 900 meters times 400 meters, your answer is very easy, 360,000 meter squared. Before we move to another slide, just note that in case I wanted you to find this area in hectares, you will do the same thing. But when you get your area here in meters squared, you will divide it by 10,000. If I want it in RS, you divide by 100. But just know that the most important thing for you is to change your dimensions into meters. How will you change your dimensions into meters? You multiply by the scale and you divide by 100. As easy as that. So let's look at another example. The plot below is drawn to a scale. 1 centimeter represents 2,000 centimeters on the ground. Then the question is, if your length is 8 centimeters and your width is 4 centimeters, find its actual area in RS. So what is our first step? Remember I told you, take your length and your width, you multiply them by the scale, and then you divide by 100. You will change your dimensions to become meters. So if 1 centimeter represents 2,000 centimeters, what about 8? You're multiplying 8 times 2,000 centimeters. Then we change it into meters. And your answer is, or your length in meters is 160 meters. So after getting 160 meters, what is your width in meters? It is 4 times 2,000 over 100, and you will find your width to be 80 meters. So area, like we said earlier, area is length times width. If you multiply 160 times 80 meters, your area is 12,000 800 meters squared. If I wanted your area to be in meters squared or in square meters, your answer is 12,800. But because I was asking you to find your area in RS, you'll divide your answer by 100. And remember, 1 area is equal to 100 square meters. So if you divide 12,800 divided by 100, you'll remain, or you'll get your answer as 128 RS. Very, 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 very easy. Another example for us here. Sometimes you can find that there is a question. They have not drawn anything for you. You'll just find a statement like this. A rectangular plot measuring 8 centimeters long by 7 centimeters long or wide is drawn to a scale 1:500, or we can say 1 centimeters represents 500 centimeters. Find its area in hectares. So when you have a question like this, it is still the same thing. You can draw that rectangle if they have not drawn for you. Remember, sometimes you will find that they have only drawn a rectangle without any measurement. So if you see a triangle without any measurement, the only thing you're supposed to do is you're supposed to measure it using your ruler. Take your ruler and measure your length and also measure your width. So in case there was no dimensions here, there's no length and there's no width, the only thing, or the first thing that I'll do is to measure using my ruler. I'll take my ruler, I measure from here up to here. If it is 8 centimeters, I write 8. Take the same ruler, I measure from here up to here, and then I'll know my length and width. So in case they have not given you any dimensions, which is also a very common question, take your ruler and measure it. Then after getting your dimensions now in centimeters, we want to change our length and our width to become meters. How will you change your length and your width to become meters? You multiply by the scale and then you divide your answer by 100. So if it is 8 centimeters, 8 times 500, then divide by 100, you'll get you're having 40 meters as your length. Then your width, the same way, 7 times 500 over 100, of which you will get 35 meters. So area of a rectangle, all of you, length times width, which is 40 meters by 35 meters, and your answer is 1,400 square meters. So if your answer was supposed to be in meters squared, this is your answer. If your answer was supposed to be in hours, you divide by 100. But if they ask you to find the area in hectares, make sure you divide your answer by 10,000. So if you divide 1,400 by 10,000, 2 zeros will cancel here, 2 zeros will cancel here, 2 decimal places, so 1, 2, and your answer is 0.14 hectares. So you can watch and rewatch this video until you are now able to tackle some questions involving scale drawing, especially questions that require you to find what? Find area, either in square meters, RS, or hectares. So maybe just to wind it up, you can say in summary, after converting your length and your width in meters, remember the first step is to convert your length and your width in meters. By multiplying the scale given by your length, then you divide your answer by 100. Multiply to get your area. Now your area will be in square meters. If they want it in square meters, you leave your answer like that. But if they want it in RS, you divide your answer by 100. And when they want it in hectares, you divide it by 10,000. So the only thing that I need you to do right now is write my formulas and write those examples down. They are very, very, very important as you await the questions that I'm going to send at the end of this topic. So otherwise, candidate, make sure you have all my work that I've been giving you. Take a picture and then you send it through WhatsApp. I'll be able to follow up and see what you're doing at home.